Why can I say with confidence that most people that have been or are in relationships with malignant narcissists battle sleep difficulties? Well, I've done a lot of videos that talk about when the narcissist or the malignant narcissist likes to argue. And they love to argue at moments that are like the worst case scenario for you. For example, one of the places they love to argue is in the car. And I've done videos on this. I'll leave a link here if you haven't seen that. But another favorite is right before bed. And I'm going to provide you with the emotional literacy as to why they do this. Because if you understand it, once you understand it, it will help you to avoid getting sucked into whatever drama battle that they try to bring up in the evening. Okay, so the reason they argue at night, again, I've done a lot of videos about how narcissists, they don't feel their feelings internally. They feel them externally, which is why they project, right? Instead of looking at themselves, they project everything they feel onto others. So what happens is, by the end of the day, whatever stresses, whatever challenges, whatever shame or insecurity the toxic person might have felt throughout the day, and yes, they feel that, even though they try to put on this facade that they are all confident and they never feel those feelings, they do. But anyway, whatever they feel or they felt throughout the day that they didn't want to feel, well, they're carrying it now, and it's disrupting how they feel about themselves. It's messing with their false image. So they look at their partner, and sadly, this is going to sound kind of harsh, but it's truth. Sadly, malignant narcissists tend to look at their significant other almost as an emotional garbage pail, where anything they don't want to feel, they fling and toss into the other person. They do that by provoking a fight that causes you to feel whatever they were feeling inside. So if they're feeling shame, they will say and do things that provoke shame in you. If they were feeling inadequate or seeing the selfishness in themselves, they will provoke those feelings in you. Once they see that you engage and they're able to provoke you to these feelings, guess what happens? They will sleep like a baby. They will cause this argument where you're left feeling shame, you're left feeling unappreciated, emotionally chewed up like an old piece of gum and spit out, and they go to sleep as if nothing ever happened. Now, when I didn't understand malignant narcissism, I couldn't understand how that could happen. How could somebody go through such a chaotic, almost unbelievable argument that made no sense, but was awful, emotionally devastating, and then pass out? It was because I didn't realize that I was being provoked to the emotions that the other person didn't want to feel, and then I was stuck in them. And now I was having sleep difficulties while they slept like a baby. So if you understand this and you start to realize that this person, if they're arguing with you at night, it's because they need to put whatever negative emotions they feel into you. If you recognize this, you realize that you don't have to engage. And the way you handle this is when they try to provoke you to feel that emotion, you don't take the bait. So maybe they'll say something like, you know, you do nothing for this relationship. You contribute nothing. I do everything, and you do nothing. What kind of a wife or what kind of a husband are you? And now in your mind, you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm doing everything. I'm yanking my personality inside out to try to please this person. They still don't see it. What they're saying isn't true. And then you take the bait and you try to prove it. No. If you do that, you fell for their trap. The way you handle it is if they say, you're an awful wife, you're an awful husband. All you have to do is say, well, thanks for letting me know how you feel. Or you can say, well, you're allowed to feel that way. You're allowed to see me that way if you want. You're not taking the bait. Now, this might cause them to get more irate because they need to get rid of the negative that's inside of them. If they get louder and if they're trying to hurt you in other ways by bringing up topics that are very sensitive, And again, these tools are for people whose life is not in danger. These tools are for people who are dealing with extreme emotional manipulation. If your life is in danger and they're going to escalate, that you don't want to stay. These are not the tools for you. I just want to make that clear. So let's say they just continue being nasty because you're not taking the bait. Another tool that you can use is the NLP technique of changing modalities. So they are insulting you. They're saying,
I can't stand you. You do nothing for this relationship. You contribute nothing. You're worthless. What kind of a husband or wife are you?
Or anything like that. Change how you hear it, because it will automatically change how you feel it. Okay? So that's another tool to help you so that you don't wind up laying in bed with all these thoughts spinning around that are preventing you from falling asleep. The next reason why people struggle with sleep difficulties has to do with cognitive dissonance. So oftentimes in my face-to-face coaching, I'll get people that tell me, they're like, Michele, they'll tell me something that happened, and then they're like, who does that? Like, who does that? I can't wrap my mind around why they would do that. So cognitive dissonance is that their mind is having two opposing thoughts, right? A loving spouse and the behaviors that would fall underneath a loving spouse, and what this spouse is actually doing. And those two thoughts are completely opposite. And people get stuck trying to reconcile two halves that do not equal a whole. Okay? So they'll think about, well, why did they say that? Who does that? In order to not have those thoughts eat you up at night and rob you of sleep, a part of healing is letting go. You have to let go of expecting the malignant narcissist to act like somebody that is not a malignant narcissist. You have to let it go, and instead of who does that, start noticing their behavior using the observe, don't absorb technique. Notice the behavior and state, oh, there he did it again, or there she did it again, just like a typical malignant narcissist. When you notice it and you call it for what it is, it helps diminish the cognitive dissonance. The next thing that steals your sleep is rumination. Okay, so many crazy things happen throughout the day that if you tried to explain it to somebody that knows nothing about malignant narcissism, they wouldn't understand it. It doesn't make sense, because the truth is that a lot of it just is crazy. It's chaos, right? They thrive in chaos that doesn't make sense. Well, what happens is a lot of victims of narcissistic abuse, when they're right before they go to sleep, they're trying to make sense of it. They're thinking about, well, why did he or she get angry? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe if I did this, maybe tomorrow if I do that, and what if this happened, and why did that have to happen, and I don't understand this, and they're trying to make sense out of it. Again, if you're watching these videos, there comes a point where we have to let go. We have to accept reality, the reality that there are people that just are like that. There's no secret formula that we're going to find that's going to make them happy. And the danger is rumination can be addictive. Your brain starts getting addicted to thinking in the past, and this happened and that happened. And I see it a lot with victims of narcissistic abuse. With every time they talk about their life, they can say something that happened, and they can talk about it in so much detail, it's as if it just happened, and it could be from 10 years ago. Our brain gets stuck replaying the past over and over. So one of the things that helps with calming rumination is practicing mindfulness. That means being present in the moment. In other words, you're drinking a cup of coffee, and rather than thinking of what you have to do or what happened earlier, you're in the moment, tasting your coffee, hearing the sounds of the moment, noticing what's around you. You're in tune and in touch with how you feel at that moment. Now, that takes practice. It takes practice, but the more you can do that, the more you will calm your thoughts. You will train your mind to not be going back into the past, but to actually stay in the present. And adrenal fatigue. So if you're battling narcissistic abuse, of course you're going to have adrenal fatigue because your body is producing so much cortisol. Your hormones are out of balance. And again, some of the things that help are the same things that help with the nightmares, which is calming your body throughout the day, doing things that help your body to feel more regulated and grounded, like mindful meditation, mindfulness, walking in nature, listening to positive music, not music that's going to cause you to think of the toxic person, or not music that depresses you, but music that empowers you. You may need to look into getting some supplements that help. I know with a lot of clients, they've told me that magnesium and calcium are really helpful. But again, make sure you talk to your healthcare professional so that you can get the supplements that your body needs. And last but not least, probably most importantly, whether it's nightmares, sleep difficulties, or adrenal fatigue, if you're going through this, it's not about getting the other person to change. If you continue trying to get them to stop creating your anxiety, it's never going to happen. But even though they won't change, you can change. You can learn how to disengage. You can let go of things that you can't control. You can let go of being responsible for how they feel and how they act. So if you start taking care of your self-needs, then it's going to help your anxiety to calm down, your nervous system to calm down, and all of that is going to help you with the sleep difficulty, the nightmares, and the adrenal fatigue.